Hi, it's KatB here. Welcome back to the Inspired Connections podcast show. I'm your host today, KatB. Andy's travelling still, so he's out. So today it's Girls' Day. We've got Sundy Haas in the house, and she's going to share with us her story, which is absolutely incredible. Sundy, welcome to the show. Tell everybody who you are and kind of share with us a little bit of your story.
Hi, thanks, Kat. Thanks for inviting me to come on and share these experiences. My name is Sundy Haas in Idaho in the United States. I'm a mother of 3 children, and I lost my eldest daughter, Maddie, July 22nd, 2018. I grew up early on non-religious, and then when I was about maybe 10, 11 years old, my mom took us into church and we became Christian, and that became my spiritual background for a number of years. And through these experiences, things have kind of changed and shifted a bit. And since my daughter has died in July of 2018, I've had a number of symptoms. One of them is, as I was sharing with you earlier, PTSD, and I have significant memory loss, and I get distracted and I lose my train of thought. So I took a few notes in case that happens, so it'll be a little bit easier for me to get back on track.
Oh, that's no worries. I'll try to interject to help you as well.
Thank you.
The story that you shared with me, though, Sunday, because it is amazing. I met you very early in your sort of story, and you went from strength to strength, exploring all sorts of things, didn't you, in search of your daughter?
Well, what happened initially, it was actually by accident. So, like I said, I grew up and I was a Christian at this point when Maddie had died. I was an extreme skeptic my whole life, and I was evidence-based. So I did struggle with Christianity a bit, trying to find out where is the evidence in it and balancing that with belief system. But I did have this overwhelming feeling that there is something greater than me, and I could feel this, I guess, energy of love in the universe. So I knew that there was something behind that as well. And so Christianity sort of fit that. And so that was kind of where I was going. But a few months after Maddie died, I had this experience that shifted things for me. So if anyone had explained this experience to me that I'm going to tell you before I had this experience, if they had told me, I'm not sure I would have been on board. It would have sounded a little bit out there for me. So one night, this is a few months later, I'm laying in bed and I'm just laying in my back, not thinking of her or anything in particular, just normal thoughts, dishes, cleaning, cooking, whatever. And all of a sudden I start feeling like I'm falling down towards the center of the earth in a free fall feeling. Obviously that seems sort of startling, and I was getting scared for a second, but then this thought occurred to me like, there's this saying called falling asleep. I'm going to go fall asleep. And I never thought, why do they even call it that in the first place? And so I thought, maybe this is what happens to everybody at night. They fall asleep, but I go unconscious before this happens. So I've just never experienced it. And at that point, I was almost 50, and I thought, I'm just going to enjoy this feeling. I may never get it again. So I'm enjoying this free fall feeling. And when I let go, it was amazing. There was no fear. It felt exactly like you would imagine, literally, physically free falling down. That happened for a while, maybe 20, 30 seconds, something like that. Immediately when that stopped, this vibratory hum feeling took over. It's like every cell in my body was being activated. It's like if you were to put a pot of water on a stove, and when you start to get this small little boiling, and then it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and then it's really aggressively boiling, that's what it felt like internally. And I thought for a moment, like, I'm going to shake off this bed. So it started to scare me. As soon as that fear took a hold of me, the sensation stopped. Immediately, I felt and heard this noise, this sound that was louder than anything I ever heard in my whole life. 1 second just whizzed by my right ear. It sounded like a train roaring or an ocean roaring, something like that. And I knew if I had actually heard that with my external ear, it would have blown my eardrum. That's how loud it was. But I thought I did actually hear that. It wasn't an imagination. I heard that. So I'm laying there thinking, how did I actually hear that without hearing that? And I'm thinking maybe something else is going to happen, and nothing. So I think, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to Google this, because I'm sure I'm not the only person who has experienced this. I get up to grab my glass of water to take it downstairs, and my hand goes through the glass. And I'm bewildered, thinking maybe I'm just disoriented from this experience. Maybe my depth perception is off. When you get up, sometimes you can't see well. And I go to grab it again, and the same thing happens. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, maybe that falling sensation, maybe that vibrating, maybe that noise, maybe that was part of the death process. Maybe I literally just had a heart attack and died, and I just let myself do that. I can't even believe that. And so I'm starting to get super stressed out, and I'm looking around thinking, well, if I'm dead, then where's my daughter? Where's my brother or my dad? And where's God and the white light? And I'm noticing I'm in my room. It is my same room, except the bedspread is different and the picture above my bed is different. But otherwise, it is my same room. When I went to bed that night, it was what I'd call pitch black, but now it had this strange illumination, kind of like the static on a black and white TV, where you know there's light, but you can't pinpoint a light source. That's what it was similar to. So I'm looking around and I notice that there is a body laying in my bed.
Actually out of body in the astral form, looking at yourself.
Yes, but I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know anything except I look and there's a body in my bed. And I get closer to it and I notice they're wearing my pajamas. I still don't understand. I'm getting closer to get a closer look because I'm not clear. And as I'm getting closer to this body, there's some familiarity, like deja vu feeling, like, boy, there's something, but I can't quite place it. And then I look down and I see a gold necklace with a charm with a mother and a child. And I say, oh my God, that's my body. But I think,
were you scared, Sunday, or just curious?
Terrified. I was terrified and bewildered because I thought,
were you scared you couldn't get back in?
At that point, no. I had thought I must be dead, but I didn't understand because I thought, that's me. That's supposed to be me. I'm supposed to be that body, right? But here I am. I'm fully me. I have nothing to do with that body. That body doesn't even relate to me whatsoever. This is me. Whatever I am is independent of this body. I don't even understand it because my whole human life, I identified that body as me. But here I am. I'm still alive and it has absolutely nothing to do with that body. But I was now starting to get scared, like, well, where am I? Where am I going next? What is happening? This isn't heaven, what I thought heaven was supposed to be like. And I didn't know, is someone coming for me? Am I supposed to get back on this body? So there was a lot of all these thoughts that were coming. The anxiety was extremely stressful and I was getting higher and higher with my anxiety. I noticed and sensed some sort of being or entity, something was behind me. As soon as I acknowledged that, it felt like a warm glass of water got dumped on my head and it was flowing just like you imagine water might flow. And as it's going down, all of this stress and anxiety and fear that I had been experiencing was like dissolving. And it's not like it was replaced by bliss or joy like I had expected it to be, what I had always thought heaven was, because I didn't know where I was at that point. But it was like just calm, like a neutral observer. I realized I was just very curious, like a baby would be, with no assumptions, like a blank slate, no judgments on everything. I realized I could literally have stayed in that space for all eternity and have been fine. So I was just very calm. All of a sudden I heard, "Mommy, I need a drink." And I'm looking around and I don't see anyone. At that point, I didn't realize then, but I didn't even know that that was a person talking. I just heard a noise, so I'm responding to a noise. And I hear again, "Mommy, I need a drink." Instantly, from somewhere like around my belly button region, it felt like the universe's strongest vacuum, sucked everything of what I was through the smallest straw and just slammed me back in that body. Wow. And I turned my head and there's my youngest daughter standing there with a cup saying, "Mommy, I need a drink." And I realized, wow, I did not need a body when I was there. So, and I was completely me. Wherever I was in that realm, I was completely me, but without a body. So if I was still alive and me without a body, then that means my daughter Maddie, who died, was still alive and she didn't need her body. So she was still there. Where was she? I need to go find her. And that started my journey of investigating out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences and the like.
Wow. I've had a few out-of-body experiences where my whole consciousness felt like it was almost like an Alice in Wonderland moment of shrinking down to the tiniest, smallest element. And a little bit similar to the situation with your daughter. The minute I was just about to go out, my husband knocked on the door and suddenly I went straight back in. But I was consciously aware, and I was feeling like myself getting smaller and smaller, and I was like, this is really weird. My body's really big, but my consciousness is going, and it was going down. It was going down to the base of my spine. And I could feel it was just about to go out when the knock on the door happened, and I went whoomph straight back in. I've also had it where Spirit said fall backwards, because I had this thing of, if you go out of body, will you stop breathing? What happens to the human body if your consciousness isn't in it? Is that body and the mechanics of it going to stop? That was my fear, or my logical fear at the beginning. And then I remember one day after a yoga session, when the Spirit guide said, just fall back, just fall back. And it came out just the top half of me, and the body was still breathing, and I was like, oh, how is it operating without me in the system? I found that really fascinating. I presume these things started to spontaneously happen to you, did they?
I wish they would. So this was an accident. Like I said, I had never even heard of an out-of-body experience before this. I never even knew something like this existed. It was after this happened, I started researching, and then it led to near-death experiences. And I tried for the next 5 years, like continually, to have an out-of-body experience. I joined different groups, I read every book, and I could get to the vibratory stage, like the falling would happen, the vibration would happen, but I could not get beyond that. And I think for me, at least, is when it happened the first time, it was by accident. I had no agenda. I had no preconceived notions. I was, I guess, open because I didn't even know something was possible. Now I have an agenda. I can say, I'm just going to be open and see whatever happens, let the universe and the spirits guide me. But that is a bold-faced lie, because the truth is, I want to get out. I want to find my daughter. No matter what I try to convince myself of, my true intention is to go find Maddie. So I think by having that agenda, I am limiting myself, and I don't have the opportunity of allowing the experience to happen naturally. It's not on the experience's terms anymore. It's on my terms. And I cannot seem to find a way to let my ego go enough to allow that to happen. I've had other experiences, but not the out-of-body experience that I've been, so searching for.
Wow. Share with us some of the other experiences, Sunday. What are the other types of things that you've learned from the journey and experience? And have you felt that you've got closer to Maddie? Have you had some inspired connections where you think, I definitely made that connection, or definitely feel her vibration around me?
Yes, I've had several different types of experiences. This type of experience has happened to me probably 8 or 10 times since she's died. And it's been almost 7 years now, where I'm not doing anything in particular. I mean, it could be doing dishes. It's not like I cannot bring it on. I've tried to meditate or bring it on, and I cannot. So it is spontaneous. And it's usually when I'm not thinking about her. I'm just doing mundane, distracting things. Like one time I was in the kitchen, I'm literally doing dishes, and it felt like someone called my name. I didn't hear a name call, but my attention got transferred as if someone called my name. And then I felt like I was suspended in this bubble. Like I knew the world was going around, but all my attention was being held in this bubble. And I felt like an unbelievable amount of infusion of love. It's like a hug from the inside out was being transmitted through this. And oh my gosh, like when you think about what kind of love could be in the next reality or the afterlife, that could be just a taste of it, because as her mother and a mother of 2 other children, I love my children. But this love was unparalleled. This love was beyond what I am able to give.
I've had that experience too, Sunday. I saw one of my guides in the astral form in Scotland, and I saw them 2 days before in dreams, almost preparing me. And then when I actually saw them in their astral form on the earth plane, the love that emanated from him, I literally have never felt love like that. And like you, I have been very fortunate to be able to love and to be loved in this life. But I was like, I always say that to somebody who's lost someone. I was like, but if you even understand an ounce of how strong that love is, you would not be suffering the way that you are. It is amazing. It is incredibly amazing. It's so powerful. It's so beautiful. And almost I was like spellbound. I couldn't get the words out. I met a lady who actually had a near-death experience a few months later, and I sort of told her the story of what I'd experienced, and she went, oh my gosh, I'm so pleased to meet you. I said, hi, I was kind of a bit taken back, and she was like, I had a near-death experience. I had 3 months in a coma out of body, and like everybody in the spirit world feels like that. And she's like, but nobody understands. When I telling them what nobody understands. And she got really excited. And I was like, and that's when I had this kind of human reality of like, he's not special, he's not on a pedestal. He's the same as everybody else in the spirit world. It's just that the vibratory contrast between the level of density on Earth and where they are in that dimension is so profoundly different. Yeah, it just feels like a little bit of elixir of life, like just being shone at you, doesn't it? Amazing. So you've also had that experience. It's really reassuring, I think, to share that with people, because one of the biggest worries when somebody loses a loved one, and particularly when it's a child, is like, are they okay? And I think if they can understand that in that dimension of reality, the love is so profound. I know that when I interviewed Omar, who'd had his near-death experience after losing his daughter, he was just so excited and elated when he came back, even though he went through a lot of pain, bless him, in the coma, in the situation. He was just so elated. He was like, it was so worth it. I got to see her dancing with his dog, who actually transitioned while he was in the coma, so didn't even know. That was his validation, was that the dog was there dancing with her. And he was just watching her and interacting, and he was just so like aghast really by the experience. He's completely changed. He's like a different human being since he came back to this experience. So tell us a little bit more, Sundy. Tell us a few more of the experience. They're amazing. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, and it does change you. You cannot experience these things without being changed, because there's one thing to know information. When I was going through Christianity and I was reading the Bible, I would feel a lot of love and I would feel a lot of resonation. But for me on that level was me trying to know something. I wasn't experiencing it. I was believing it. That's different than believing something from experience. For me, it changes you from the inside out in a permanent way where you can't ever look back. So I think through that first out-of-body experience I had, and then researching near-death experiences and desperately trying to have more out-of-body experiences, it led to this next experience I'm about to tell you. This was 2023, because she died on July 22nd, and that was the 5-year anniversary of her death, and this was 2 days later, her birthday. And in the morning, I just did what I usually do on her birthday, is look through her baby pictures and just have a lot of gratitude that I was her mother, that it wasn't anyone else, that it was me. And just spending a lot of time loving her that way. But grief has a lot of pain and it's very heavy. And how I've chosen to help myself with that is to go to the gym and lift weights and take that emotional pain and put it in a physical, tangible way. So I'm at the gym, I've got my headphones on, and I'm lifting weights, and out of the middle of nowhere, it felt like somebody just sucker punched me in the face. It was like I suddenly realized, as if it was the very first time I realized that my Maddie had died. It's like when the sheriff came to my door that moment and told me she was gone. She wasn't in college, she wasn't on vacation, she was gone and she wasn't coming back. It was like a mind blown, and so much despair and anguish at that moment. And I remember looking around at my friends at the gym and thinking, I don't wish them ill will, and I'm happy for them, but thinking, why does her son get to live? Why did my daughter die? Why does his daughter get to live? And why did my daughter die? That's so unfair that all their children get to live, but only my daughter dies. And I'm getting angry. I'm feeling sorry for myself. All these emotions are coming up. I heard, not in a voice like you and I are talking now, but in a way like if you were to stop and in your head say, I love pizza, you're not hearing it you're kind of perceiving a concept, perceiving information. That's how this was coming in. Like, it was interrupting my thoughts. It was kind of aggressively pushing its way into what I was thinking. It was completely counterintuitive to what I was thinking. And I'm arguing with it because it's not at all my feelings or my belief systems. And what I heard that is, Mom, their children will die too. And I thought, what does that even mean? And I thought for a few minutes, I thought, well, I guess, everybody dies. So technically their children will die. So I guess even more technically, my child isn't the only child to die because their child will die too. But no, it's not the same. You can't compare that. It's clearly not fair because they get to die before their kids. They get to watch their kids get married and have children. They get to be grandparents and they get all this life together. You were 21 years old. You got shafted. You got none of that. This whole life I wanted for you, I got none of that. We were totally cheated. This was unfair, period. You cannot compare the same situation. And I heard, Mom, remember when I was young and I was hurting, you would tell me that you wish you could carry that pain for me? Yes. Did you mean that? Do you still mean that? Absolutely. Even if it hurts terribly. Maddie, I would do anything for you. Anything. She said, Mom, you did. And I said, how? All of that pain, all of that anguish, all of that longing, that desperation that you carry day after day, moment by moment, if you had died first, all of that is what I would be carrying instead of you. Is that what you'd prefer? For me to have that pain instead of you? And I'm thinking, how can she be turning this situation around? Because no, this is clearly not fair. And she said, Mom, you said you would carry the pain, and you did. So why are you really angry? At this point, I'm really upset. I'm ticked. I'm arguing with her because even though she brought up some valid points that maybe I would have not thought of before or considered, I'm angry. I want to be angry. This is unfair. You can't convince me out of it. I have to hold on to this anger because if I let go of this anger, all that's left is the pain. And I'm not ready for that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going there. And she said, Mom, if you let go of the anger, there's not just the pain left. There's my love. Love remains too. And so I'm thinking, no, I got shafted. You got shafted. There's got to be a better way. I know there's a better way. So I just have to think for a moment. I've got to figure out what would have been the perfect way. And so I'm thinking. I thought, aha, I've got it. Universe, I got you. God, I've got you. You should have put me in charge because I came up with the best plan. No one would be in pain. This would have made everything fair. Listen to my solution. So in my plan, I'm 100 years old. Maddie, you're 75 years old. You die first, so you don't have to watch me, die first, so you're not in pain. And then 3 seconds later, I die. So then I don't have to be in pain from your death. Bam. See what a great plan that is? See, I solved everything. I proved that there was a better way, and I proved how we got cheated and how unfair it is. And so I'm thinking, look at me. I solved, basically all the problems here. And she said, Mom, in your scenario, you're not left carrying the pain. And I'm not left carrying the pain, but the pain doesn't go away. The pain is so enormous because the love is so phenomenal. It's the collateral damage. Someone always carries the pain. So if you're not here and I'm not here, who's left? Your other two children, my brother and my sister. Are you saying you would rather have them carry the pain so that you don't have to? And I'm thinking, my gosh, of course not. Of course not. That's what I'm not trying to say that. And I'm thinking, and I can't come up with a better scenario. That's the truth. I can't come up with a better scenario. And she says, Mom, again, why are you really angry? And I said, I'm angry because you died. Duh. That's pretty obvious. And she said, no, you're angry because you didn't die first. You didn't want to be left carrying the pain and living in a world that I'm not in. That's what you didn't want to do. But remember, you said that you would do anything for me, that you would carry the pain for me. And you did. You're carrying the pain for me, for us. Thank you. I'm really proud of you. Don't let that sacrifice go to waste. Don't just carry the pain, carry the love. Don't make the pain so huge and the love so small. It's so much the opposite. Be that love. And in that moment, I realized there really was no perfect scenario. There's no perfect way to die unless I was willing to transfer that pain to someone else. There isn't a perfect solution. We are all going to go. We're all going to die. And I thought, well, what is love to me? Is it just empty words? Was I saying that I would carry that pain for her just as words to say, or did I mean it? And in that moment, I realized I'm free. I am no longer a victim. Because after everything that she just shared with me, I would choose it now. If everything that I would go through, all the pain, all the suffering, all the anguish, all of that, if that meant that she didn't have to carry that pain, I would do it all over again because that's how much I love her. I would actually choose it. And even though I miss her desperately still, it's like this is a way that I can still actively love her. It's like a way I can still be her mother in a physical way to show her. And there's power in that, to be able to carry the pain, but also carry the love, which is so much bigger. And again, it hurts so terribly much because I love her so ridiculously huge. And, her body is gone, but her love is not gone. How I feel about her is not gone. So if it means that you have to take the body so that I can keep the love, then that's a deal I'm willing to make.
Wow, Sunday, that is just phenomenal. I mean, the wisdom and the insights in there, and I can tell from the conversation, that's not the kind of conversation that you have with yourself every day. It's not your language, it's not your thought process, but in that conversation, there is just an amazing transformative power. And that is immense. It's immense. I remember the first time I heard your story and I was like, wow, like, it's just incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very powerful for me I had felt like a victim. I think a lot of us parents who lose our children feel like that because we have loved ones and friends and family that still have their children, and it seems like we were targeted, right? It seems unfair. And I'm reminded that when she was born, I wasn't given a timestamp. No one promised me how long I would have her for. I made the assumption that I would die first, but that was never a promise. That was just an assumption that I made. I was gifted to love her this much, and no matter how long she lived or didn't live, I still get to love her for all time. And that's what really matters. Is sure, I love looking at her body, I loved hugging her body, but that's not what I loved. That's not what was her, and what is her is still remains. That's what I still get to love.
So where are you now on your journey, Sunday? How do you feel, having had all these experiences? How different do you feel?
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a normal grieving mother in many ways. I mean, I still cry. I still miss her desperately. I think the only difference is I'm able to dig myself out of that hole easier. I can remind myself more consistently, you're not a victim. Don't poor me yourself. Life is so much more than you can understand. You don't understand the plan. You don't understand all of it. But what you do know through your experiences is that she still exists and love still remains. And so focus on what you know. Don't focus on all the possibilities that are unknown. Keep your focus on what's known, because what you know is fantastic and phenomenal. And if that's all you ever know, that's enough.
And have you ever spontaneously gone out of body since? Have you had anything recently, or did you just go through a phase of this activity and then it calmed down?
I haven't gone out of body, like an out of body experience like the first time, but the last kind of similar experience I had was a few weeks after the experience I just described. I was out for a walk. I like to go for a walk at like 5:30 in the morning because it's like eerily quiet and it's pitch black and it feels very meditative to be out there. And I'm on a walk and I'm just thinking about her. I'm trying to imagine and remember what it was like to physically give her a hug and physically like touch her hair. I'm trying to remember those details. And I say in my mind, Maddie, where are you? And I hear in that same kind of voice that I heard in the last experience, I'm everything, everywhere, in all time. And I said, no, I'm asking, where are you? I was alive before you were born. I gave birth to you. We had a life together. You died, and now you're actually gone. So, like, where are you? And this was kind of like a daydream where I know I'm still walking, but you know, like when you're in a daydream, your attention, your point of awareness is focused elsewhere. That's kind of what happened. I'm aware that I'm walking, but all of my awareness is now focused in this space that it's like a void. It's this blackish space that's like a void. And I'm suddenly aware. I just know that everything that ever was, from the beginning of time to the end of time, every thought, every idea, every soul, every person, anything is in this space right now. And it's continually now. There's no real past or present. It's just always unfolding. It was like that same feeling where I could have been there forever and never been bored. It's a very hard concept to explain. So I'm in there and I'm not scared. You know, it's dark, and so you'd think you'd be frightened, but I just felt very comforted, like very familiar, like that deja vu feeling again. And I said, I don't see you. Where are you? And then all of a sudden, it's like everything started to collapse, kind of like in a game, I guess. So if you normally have a field of vision and like it would go like this small, like this in a circle, it didn't collapse like that. It collapsed it like from all these different angles imperfectly. And everything started collapsing. And all that was left was like the smallest little pinpoint. And as soon as I acknowledged, like, what is that? It was like, vroom, I was up to that pinpoint. And I noticed that I'm in space and I see the earth. I'm not in that same space. I'm in outer space. And I'm looking around and I say, I don't see you. Where are you? Vroom, I'm back, zoomed out again. Everything starts uncollapsing the same way, just backward. Everything starts opening. And that earth space dot now becomes like enfolded or incorporated. It doesn't disappear, but I can no longer find where it is. It becomes incorporated into this void space. And I hear, again, I'm everything, everywhere, in all time. And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm understanding. And she said, when you come to Earth, when you're born, you're not going anywhere. Your everything, your all, your point of awareness is just being narrowed, collapse to this tiny speck pinpoint. That is all you are aware of. That is all your perception. That is all you know. When you die, when you leave, you're not actually going anywhere. That dot miniature perception is just expanding back up again to all that you are. And that becomes incorporated. It's now part of the all of everything. And you realize you never went anywhere. And I'm like, I'm kind of getting it, but I'm not quite sure. So suddenly now I'm seeing myself laying in bed and I'm sleeping. As soon as I acknowledge, well, okay, I'm in bed sleeping, I'm flying. I'm going so fast, like warp speed somewhere. I feel the sun, like a sun sort of warmth on my face. I'm really moving fast. I can feel the wind. I'm very happy. I'm going somewhere. I'm super excited to be going. I don't have any clue where that was, but I'm very happy to be going there. So I'm feeling all these physical sensations. I'm also feeling a lot of emotional sensations, like happy. And towards the end of the dream, I was really scared and I felt physical pain at the end of the dream, like real physical pain. I don't think the dream details matter much, but I had all of these real sensations in there. Suddenly, the dream stops and I see myself back in bed and I sit up and I say, that was just a dream. And she says, when you were there, pointing to that flying dream state, did you know that you were dreaming? And I said, no. She's like, well, where did you go? And I'm like, well, I guess nowhere. I guess I was always in bed sleeping. And she's like, but weren't you moving? Weren't you flying? Didn't you feel the warmth on your face? Didn't you feel happy? Didn't you feel the pain? Didn't you feel all of that? So wasn't that real? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I felt all that and it felt real when I was there, but when I woke up, I realized it must not have been. And I think that was the hard part, is I was realizing that I'm understanding now what she's saying. What you're perceiving, when you're perceiving it, is real. And she said, that's just what death is. It's like waking up. So you didn't realize that all of that wasn't real until you woke up. You never went anywhere. You thought you did, but you really didn't. You were there the whole time. That's the exact same thing. You're not going anywhere. You're just perceiving that you're on earth. You're perceiving that you're walking, that you're eating, that you're doing anything. Not until you wake up, die, do you realize I never went anywhere. And so that's when I started to finally understand that scenario, that we're never without our loved ones. We're always with our loved ones. If we never go anywhere, we never come back anywhere, we're always with them. Where we are right now, our dot is so small, we have no perception ability to feel the incorporation of them. But where they are now, they're everything. They can feel all of that, including us. So we're limited. We feel the distance, we feel the disconnect, but they don't. And an analogy that I thought about later, because I was still having trouble digesting some of this concept for me. It was a lot for my brain to unpack. And I thought, in the United States, we have this store called Costco, and it is this ginormous warehouse. It's thousands and thousands of square feet, and it carries everything. And if you were to take somebody and you were to blindfold them and put them in a chair in one aisle at the store, and then keep them kept in to where they couldn't leave, you turn off the light and you give them a flashlight. Then you take off their blindfold and say, tell me, where are you and what is this place about? They would go look all around, put their flashlight wherever they can move and say, oh, this place is a pretty big room and it sells all different types of toilet paper everywhere. Boy, this is really stocked with a lot of different toilet paper, a whole place just of toilet paper. Well, they would be right? Then you turn on the light, free them from their restraints and let them walk around, and they would be like, wow, this place doesn't just have toilet paper, it has tires, it has jewelry, it has food, it has everything. Where I was at, my perception was extremely limited to this. So I made a lot of assumptions about what this place was. Now that I'm free, the place didn't change. My reality perspective of it changed.
Wow, absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of similarities with lucid dreaming. And so when you were talking about the hand going through the glass, that happens in our dream state, doesn't it? So the astral state, the idea that the dream state and the astral state are similar states of being, like things aren't dense in the spirit world. You can put your hands through things, you can walk through doors. That's how you know you're dreaming, isn't it? But also in those out-of-body experiences, people experience or talk about the same things, and you do too. So for me, there's a comfort in listening to people's stories and seeing there's a resonance. Several people that have these experiences, they talk about similar things, and I find that really interesting. So it kind of gives you the reassurance that we're all going to experience that. we're all going
to. Yeah. Oh, I have researched thousands of near-death experiences. It has been my passion and my mission, and I'm obsessed with them. And I have listened and watched so many from hundreds of years ago to recently, all different religions, different political ideologies, different genders. And there are very, very similar strains throughout. And that gives a tremendous amount of comfort that it does not depend on human thinking, that the greater reality, whatever that is, has nothing to do with the human mind and what our concepts are and what our agenda is. It just is. Now, it does seem to be influenced initially on what our perceptions are. Like some people, almost everybody encounters a being of some sort. Now, what they'll come back and say that being is dependent on their human mind. Some people might say, oh yeah, that was Jesus. Oh yeah, that was Buddha. Oh yeah, that was a guide. So sometimes they will filter that being's identity through their human ideologies. But the fact that they met a being is pretty consistent. And I would wonder if it's somebody more like me, like what if I had an NDE, which I'd love to have sometime, who would I see? Since I no longer believe in a particular religious ideology, I'm more open to saying I don't know. Who would I see?
Or would you see Maddie?
Oh, I would certainly try. I would certainly try.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be like phenomenal? Like she's actually your guide or you like helper on the other side, and actually she was the person that you saw. which is actually, in fairness to Omar, when he had his near-death experience, he talked about hundreds of people. And I've heard that a few times, of hundreds of people lined up in this room. And he said it wasn't like a square room. He felt like he was meandering along a path, and you just kept getting greeted. And some people he knew, and he was just like, it was the weirdest experience. You just knew and had awareness of all these people or souls, even though you didn't necessarily recognize them from life. You knew you were connected. I really love your idea of the little small pinpoint that expands out, and suddenly you're aware of a bigger landscape, and it's still right here. But it just looks like there's so much more awareness in that one speck, and that speck somehow feels huge, because what's to say that speck is just the same size, but our concept outside of body completely different, no awareness of time. Like, how can that happen? So realizing that there are two sort of elements to the body, or two elements of awareness. Our awareness can be expanded and out there, and it can be tiny in a pinpoint inside our own little mini universe of the human body as well, which is kind of cool. Sundy, thank you so much for coming on. It's been the most incredible gift. I have loved listening to you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope anything that I may have said has helped lighten somebody else's load. I know people before me have shared things that have really spoken to me and have resonated with me, that has helped lighten my load. And I know through these experiences, I see people in a different light. I was just in my own lane for so long of my life, and it has opened up, and this love that I have for others is so much deeper now. And I really, really want us all to feel that love that I was so fortunate enough to feel. I want us all to know that it's available for everybody. So if these stories can help, these experiences can help anyone get a glimpse of that, I hope everyone experiences that love, because we are all loved that way.
Thank you. What an amazing place to end.